Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 30 minutes. Marking a decade that turned India into a startup nation, Prime Minister Narendra Modi says today's India believes in aspiration and creation. Invites young entrepreneurs to invest more in manufacturing and tech. Iran anti-government protests subside following more than a week of internet shutdown and crackdown on alleged rioters. India reiterates its advisory to citizens to leave the West Asian nation and to avoid going there as well. And a bipartisan US congressional delegation begins its visit to Copenhagen to express its support to Greenland and Denmark in face of President Donald Trump's assertions to take over the Arctic island. Now, with the ongoing situation in Iran, New Delhi is continuously keeping a close watch on the situation, and following that, advisory has been issued for Indian nationals in Iran and to those who wish to travel to Iran.
We have around 9,000 Indian nationals in Iran. They are mostly students, people connected with business, some professionals as well, pilgrims and seafarers. Given the situation there, we have issued a few advisories asking Indian nationals to avoid all travel to Iran, and Indian nationals who are already resident in Iran to leave Iran by available means, including commercial flights. We continue to closely watch the unfolding situation there and will take all necessary steps for the welfare of our people.
And the UN Security Council met in New York over escalating protests in Iran. UN officials have been urging diplomacy, while the US once again warned that all options are on the table for the president to pursue and to stop the killings. Iran warned back that any aggression will be met decisively.
The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session in New York on Iran amid growing concern over reports that hundreds have been killed during nationwide protests. Demonstrations that began in late December, fueled by soaring inflation, rising food prices, and the collapse of the national currency, triggered a deadly and widespread crackdown with thousands injured and detained. The United Nations urged everyone to walk on the path of diplomacy.
The Secretary General remains convinced that all concerns regarding Iran, including those related to the nuclear issue and ongoing protests, are best addressed through diplomacy and dialogue.
The United States reaffirmed its solidarity with the people of Iran and warned that all options are open to stop the slaughter.
President Donald J. Trump and the United States of America stands by the brave people of Iran. President Trump is a man of action, not endless talk like we see at the United Nations. He has made it clear all options are on the table to stop the slaughter.
Iran warned that any act of aggression will be met with a decisive response.
Iran seeks neither escalation nor confrontation. However, any act of aggression, direct or indirect, will be met with a decisive, proportionate, and lawful response under Article 51 of the Charter. This is not a threat. It is a statement of legal reality.
White House has claimed that Iran has halted 800 executions under pressure from President Donald Trump. With Tehran already under crippling restrictions over its nuclear program that contributed to the economic woes that sparked protests, the US also announced new sanctions targeting Iranian officials on Thursday. Bureau Report, DD India.
And on Friday, Russian President Vladimir Putin held phone calls with leaders of both Israel and Iran, offering mediation amid large-scale protests in Iran. On Friday, Russia announced Putin was in contact with both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian in a bid to cool tensions between the two rivals. In a call with Israel's Netanyahu on Friday, the Kremlin said Russia had expressed its readiness to continue its mediation efforts. Meanwhile, there are reports from the ground in Iran that the protests have been quelled. Now, a U.S. bipartisan congressional delegation kicked off a visit to Copenhagen on Friday to express support for Denmark and Greenland after President Donald Trump's threats to take over the Arctic island. The 11-member delegation will hold talks with Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and her Greenlandic counterpart Jens Frederik Nielsen, among others. U.S. Democratic Senator Jenny Shaheen said that the debate over Greenland makes little sense.
Just the suggestion that the U.S. would take Greenland by force does real damage, not just to the relationship with Greenland, with Denmark, but to America's own national security. It erodes decades of hard-won confidence among allies, and it weakens the sense of security that comes with it. And that rhetoric plays right into the hands of our greatest adversaries, Russia and China.
In addition, the Kremlin today said that on Friday that Russia considers Greenland to be a Danish territory and added that the security situation surrounding the island was extraordinary from the perspective of international law. Moscow said that the crisis over the territory showed the double standards of Western powers which claimed moral superiority. But Trump reiterated on Wednesday that the U.S. needs Greenland and that Denmark cannot be relied upon to protect the island, even as he said that something will work out with respect to the future governance of the Danish overseas territory. And the German Defense Ministry on Friday said a Denmark-led reconnaissance mission in Greenland is set to determine whether Eurofighter jets can be deployed and whether maritime surveillance is possible there with frigates. The mission aims to evaluate the security situation in the Arctic and explore how NATO partners can contribute to regional defense efforts. The ministry also added that the mission involves planning exercises with P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, the deployment of naval units for maritime monitoring, and the potential use of Eurofighter jets in the region. Venezuela's Maria Corina Machado met U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House and presented him with her Nobel Peace Prize medal, calling it recognition for his commitment to Venezuela's freedom. Trump described the gesture as a wonderful moment of mutual respect on Truth Social, praising Machado as a brave voice despite previously sidelining her. The symbolic act follows Machado's daring escape from Venezuela and receiving the Nobel Peace Prize in Oslo last month. But for the time being, Trump continues to back interim leader Delcy Rodriguez, who declared Venezuela not afraid of diplomatic confrontation with Washington. U.S. forces seized a 6th oil tanker on Thursday, and the first U.S. brokered Venezuelan oil sale worth $500 million was also finalized. In the meantime, Machado has given an interview to Fox News saying that she will be Venezuela's president when the right time comes. Now, a South Korean court on Friday sentenced former President Yoon Yeol to 5 years in prison on charges that included obstructing attempts by authorities to arrest him following his failed bid to impose martial law in December 2024. The court found Yoon guilty of mobilizing the Presidential Security Service to block authorities from executing an arrest warrant to investigate him for the martial law declaration. Speaking outside the court immediately afterwards, one of Yoon's lawyers said the former president would appeal, terming the decision as politicized. The verdict is the first against Yoon in the 8 criminal trials over the martial law decree he issued in late 2024 and other allegations. Apart from Friday's sentence, Yoon faces 7 more trials, with the next sentencing on Yoon's insurrection charge scheduled for the 19th of next month. Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the globe. Now, Taiwan aims to become a close strategic partner with the United States in artificial intelligence, following a major trade agreement announced on Thursday. Taiwan's companies will invest $250 billion in US semiconductor industry, energy and artificial intelligence production in 2025. At least 7 people were killed in violence overnight in central Uganda, following national elections that looked set to extend veteran President Yoweri Museveni's rule into a 5th decade. Results announced by the Electoral Commission showed Museveni with over 75% of the votes in Thursday's presidential election based on tallies from 59% of polling stations. In South Korea, a major fire broke out early on Friday in a deprived area of Seoul's upmarket Gangnam district. It was brought under control and fully extinguished about 8 hours later. No casualties were reported, but 258 residents of Goryong village were evacuated. Social media companies have collectively deactivated nearly 5 million accounts belonging to Australian teenagers. The world first ban on accounts held by under 16s, that is social media accounts, went live on the 10th of December. Some European nations including France, Southeast Asian countries including Malaysia and Indonesia, and some US states have said they will introduce similar laws. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. India's External Affairs Minister and his Japanese counterpart hold the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue in Delhi. And India's star batter Smriti Mandhana is signed by Manchester Super Giants and is set to feature in the 100 women's competition.
One of India's newest states, one of India's oldest lands. Jharkhand is a hidden.
Take a front seat to witness the grandeur. That Gar Firdaus Barruez.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Gautam Roy. On the occasion of National Startup Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the program marking a decade of the Startup India initiative in New Delhi on Friday. Startup India was launched on the 16th of January 2016 by the Prime Minister as a transformative national program to nurture innovation, promote entrepreneurship and enable investment-driven growth, with the objective of making India a nation of job creators rather than job seekers. Over the last decade, Startup India has emerged as a cornerstone of India's economic and innovation architecture. Recalling that Startup India was started 10 years ago, Prime Minister Modi expressed satisfaction with the growth of the initiative and was happy to meet the youth.
भारत आज दुनिया का थर्ड लार्जेस्ट स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम है। 10 साल पहले देश में 500 से भी कम स्टार्टअप्स थे। आज ये संख्या बढ़कर 2 लाख से ज्यादा है। 2014 में भारत में सिर्फ 4 यूनिकॉर्न थे। आज भारत में करीब 125 एक्टिव यूनिकॉर्न है।
The PM further said that in 2025, India registered 44,000 new startups, marking the biggest jump in any single year since the launch of the Startup India initiative.
पिछले ही साल यानी 2025 में करीब 44,000 और नए स्टार्टअप रजिस्टर हुए हैं। ये स्टार्टअप इंडिया की शुरुआत के बाद किसी एक साल के सबसे बड़ा जंप है ये आंकड़े इस बात के गवाह है कि हमारे स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम इनोवेशन और ग्रोथ को किस तरह ड्राइव कर रहे हैं।
As Startup India completes the historic milestone of 10 years, Prime Minister Modi also hailed the culture of innovation embraced by the youth of the nation. On the occasion, 20 startups were awarded for excellence in diverse domains. Listen in.
I run a company named Glowatrix, and we aim to empower the deaf and speech-impaired people who rely on sign language to communicate. So we have built Fifth Sense, which are AI-powered gloves that translate sign language to voice, so every deaf person can independently communicate with everyone with dignity. PM Narendra Modi's vision for Startup India is just fantastic. Since I was in school, I used to dream of making a device that would translate sign language to voice, and it was a bold vision, and it would require a lot of capital and somebody to take a chance on us. And Startup India, which was launched in 2016, did that.
We started back in 2018, and today we have grown to 100 CR. I personally met Honorable Prime Minister in Japan, where I represented my startup. I won the category in women-led innovation because we are building something, the luggage, which is a smart luggage, tech integrated.
And during his opening address at the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue on Friday, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar emphasized on how India prioritizes its friendship with Japan, also adding that over the last 2 decades, India and Japan have been successful in transforming their ties from economic to one which is broad, comprehensive and strategic.
India attaches very great priority to its friendship with Japan. And over the last 2 decades, we have been successful in transforming the relationship from what was primarily an economic relationship into one that is broad, comprehensive and strategic in its focus. We attach the highest priority to working with Japan in international forums.
Further, Dr. Jaishankar said that it was the Japanese Prime Minister who had laid the ground for the emergence of the Indo-Pacific as a political, economic and strategic construct, and that the vision for the Indo-Pacific aligns closely with the free and open Indo-Pacific outlook.
It was the Japanese Prime Minister who, in his address to the Indian Parliament, laid the ground for the emergence of the Indo-Pacific as a political, economic and strategic construct. The relationship today sees that our initiative of what we call Mahasagar, which is oceans in a way, and vision for the Indo-Pacific aligns closely with your free and open Indo-Pacific outlook.
Earlier, the External Affairs Minister welcomed Japanese Foreign Minister Motegi Toshimitsu for the 18th India-Japan Strategic Dialogue, emphasizing strengthened bilateral ties amid global uncertainties. Both the ministers discussed Indo-Pacific stability, AI and semiconductor cooperation, resilient supply chains, critical minerals, energy, health and maritime security. And on External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meeting his Japanese counterpart Motegi Toshimitsu in New Delhi today, the MES spokesperson said that both the leaders discussed defense cooperation among many other things.
Defense cooperation with Japan, this is an important element of our collaboration, and this was a matter that was discussed between the two leaders, External Affairs Minister and Foreign Minister of Japan, and we look forward to further strengthen our ties. You asked about several of these projects. There are several projects which are under consideration, and we want to further strengthen our ties, taking into account all the projects that you mentioned.
And India's lower house of Parliament, that is Lok Sabha Speaker, Om Birla addressed the keynote session of the 28th Conference of Speakers and Presiding Officers of the Commonwealth on Friday. He underlined the vital duty of presiding officers to stay neutral, fair and impartial.
हमारी भूमिका तटस्थ हो, न्यायपूर्ण हो, निष्पक्ष हो, यह बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेदारी है। हमारी पार्लियामेंट स्टैंडिंग कमेटी जो मिनी पार्लियामेंट के रूप में काम करती है, जो दलों से उठकर मिनी संसद के रूप में काम करती है, हम अपनी अपनी संसद के अंदर स्टैंडिंग कमेटियों को भी बनाएं और स्टैंडिंग कमेटियों में व्यापक चर्चा हो, संवाद हो, विधेयकों पर भी अच्छी चर्चा हो, ताकि हम बेहतर तरीके से संसद के अंदर मिनी पार्लियामेंट के सुझाव, उनकी रिकमेंडेशन के आधार पर ठीक से पॉलिसी, नीतियां और कानून बना सकें।
Some sports news now. Manchester Super Giants have signed India's star opening batter Smriti Mandhana for the upcoming edition of the 100 Women's Tournament. The left-hander featured in 4 editions of the tournament between 2021 and 2024, scoring 676 runs in 29 innings for the Southern Brave. Smriti is among 6 Indians to have featured in the tournament so far. The list includes Indian captain Harmanpreet Kaur, star all-rounder Deepti Sharma, opener Shafali Verma, wicket-keeper batter Richa Ghosh and middle-order batter Jemima Rodriguez. The Super Giants also announced the signing of former Australia captain Meg Lanning, who's previously represented London Spirit and Oval Invincibles. Now, Pune is buzzing as international cycling teams roll in for the Pune Grand Tour 2026, India's first UCI 2.2 multi-stage road race. Riders from Morocco, the Philippines, Indonesia, Guam, Great Britain and Mauritius have joined 2 Indian squads, bringing colour and character to the city's streets. From seasoned professionals to rising talents, 171 cyclists across 29 teams and 35 nations will test themselves over 437 kilometers of rugged terrain. Their arrival turns Pune into a global cycling hub, setting the stage for 5 days of festive competition. India Open Badminton Tournament is currently underway in New Delhi. On the sidelines of the event, former India badminton coach Vimal Kumar interacted with DD India's Narayan Singh and shared his views on the India Open, Lakshya Sen and the performance of young Indian shuttlers.
The India Open Badminton Tournament is currently underway in New Delhi, and right now I'm joined by the former coach of the Indian badminton team, Vimal Kumarji. Sir, a very warm welcome. Exciting tournament is underway here. So overall, how you look the level of competition here at the India Open?
No, it is always because this is a 750 event. So it's a very strong tournament. The world number 1 pulled out because he got injured while playing the Malaysian Open. So other than that, Kunlavat is here who won the tournament, and then all the others are there. So it's a very, men's singles field is very strong. Then women's singles, we have Ansai Young, she's the world's best player.
So definitely a strong tournament, but talking about the Indian badminton right now, if you take a look, Lakshya Sen is the leading singles player who is just, we can say that, leading the India's campaign in the world of badminton. But we have seen a fantastic comeback by the Lakshya in the recent time. But we have seen that at the crucial juncture, sometime he faltered. So what advice as a mentor you are giving him?
Lakshya faltered quite a bit last year from these sort of situations. I think he's slightly better now. But again, he needs to be a little more consistent, and my advice has always been to him is now to remain in the present and look this year at winning a 1000 event or a 750 event, because he has not won a 1000 or a 750 event in the tour. He has won 500 events, 300 events he has won, but 750 or 500, 1000 is important. So he should just focus on that and do that.
Talking about our Indian badminton, if you talk about PV Sindhu, HS Prannoy, Kidambi Shrikant, all are in the final leg of their career. So currently, what are the key names do you think that who will take the Indian badminton forward?
I think in men's singles we have a good depth. The next after Lakshya is Ayush Shetty. He has already beaten some of the best top 10 players in the world. So he's right up there. By the end of the year, he should be in the top 15 or top 10. And even in women's singles, if you look at it, We have Tanvi Sharma. She really showed. She got to the finals of the Junior World Championships. She's also right up there. She nearly beat the world number 2 here. So that's a good sign.
As the Vimal Kumarji said that our young talent, especially Ayush and Tanvi, has the potential to be the best in the business, and they have showed their potential in the past few months. Hopefully, this Indian badminton player will do well in the coming times, and India will shine at the world map. With camera person Rahul Chopra, Narayan Singh, DD India, Delhi.
And an historic first, Britain will host the Grand Depart for the 2027 edition of the premier road cycling event, Tour de France. The occasion will mark the first time that both men's and women's tours will start in the same nation outside of France. The men's opening stage will begin on the 2nd of July. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.